Electrical disturbances in the brain cause epilepsy. Some people in antiquity called it the sacred disease caused by gods or spirits. Matthew 4:24 actually distinguishes it from demonization, although in Matthew 17, he describes a case that appears to involve both. Knowing something about ancient attempts to cure epilepsy or prevent seizures can increase our appreciation both for modern medicine and for what Jesus' healing meant for the youth in Matthew 17. So as with most ailments, bleeding the patient and inducing vomiting were often prescribed by ancient physicians. Cauterizing the skull could also be used. So bleeding the patient, though, was probably the most common, draining some blood, thinking, oh, they have too much extra blood. Shed lizard skin was supposedly helpful, but lizards were said to swallow the skin to avert this pharmaceutic use of their skin. Mean lizards. Temkin, in a book published by Johns Hopkins University in 1971, shows that leading 4th century BC doctors suggested the following kinds of treatments: lichen, kind of bumpy skin disease of horses or mules, genitals of seals, testicles of the hippopotamus, and the like. Crocodile feces were also deemed very helpful. Some suppose that certain kind of fever, probably caused by malaria, and epilepsy were so incompatible that the former could cure the latter. Not that probably anybody tried to contract the former, just to see. Many people would spit on those experiencing a seizure, believing that this helped them. There was a kind of really stinky honey that supposedly drove healthy people insane, but could cure seizures. Other cures included eating animal meat killed by the same iron weapon that had killed a person. I'm sure they tried that out. Or using the iron nail struck by the head of an epileptic in his fall. Scribonius Largus, a pharmacologist writing in the 1st century, heard of a cure in Crete, and so he sent a colleague who paid an expensive fee to procure what turned out to be just some hyena flesh wrapped in cloth. Apparently taking the scam in good humor, Largus declares that while he hopefully will never need such a recourse, he's already procured a hyena and had it skinned, for it's best to be prepared for all eventualities, he said. He recounts another peddled cure requiring the brain of a young deer, provided the deer was killed by a dagger that had just killed a gladiator. So make sure after the gladiator's been killed, you go find a deer really fast. He drew the line, however, at alleged cures by drinking one's own blood or drinking the blood out of the skull of a dead gladiator. I'm sure people around the amphitheater would appreciate you cleaning some of their mess. Eating part of a slain gladiator's liver, he thought, might be helpful, but doctors should not prescribe it. Treating epilepsy with massage and anointing, at least those were safer, much safer cures. It was probably also more helpful than the average preventive measure, such as the following. Eating vulture brains or raw seagull heart was said to prevent seizures, although the physician who notes such prophylactics happily acknowledges that he hasn't tried the remedies himself. Other proposed means of prevention of seizures, they didn't prevent seizures. Seizures include goat meat cooked in a funeral pyre and goat fat boiled in bull's gull, the stomach and blood of the weasel, and so forth. People also used amulets, and some doctors in desperation simply resorted to reciters of incantations. And seeing an epileptic coming, one might spit to ward off any possible contagion. That was considered such a bad omen that Romans actually adjourned political meetings if someone present suffered a seizure. One should spit when seeing a quail, since it might also be contagiously epileptic. Happily, Jesus simply cures the person. So again, we can appreciate modern medicine and we can appreciate Jesus, especially when we see what some people with epilepsy were subjected to in antiquity.